You made a mess, Jello. You gonna eat your breakfast?
Later.
You gonna eat your breakfast? No, it's not what you want. Really? You're asking Daddy for something else again.
Don't you have enough?
Okay, so let's see what we have growing this week, other than the cat. We have our greens looking like they're taking off pretty well in this pot, transplanted last weekend. These are our new starts, so we have our chard, which are just starting, you can see. And we have our kale that's also just starting. So I took the dome off of them, took the heat pad out from under them, because once they germinate, they're usually pretty good to go. Here's some of the beet starts that we started a couple weeks ago. No true leaves on them yet, just the starting leaves. My tomatoes and peppers are kind of sad. I think I have one just starting right there. It's a pepper. And we have another one starting way back there. It's also a pepper. My tomatoes did not take off, so we might have to try again. Okay, so there's my Broody girl sitting on her eggs. Good girl. And her food and water on this side so that she has to get up and out of her nest box to take care of herself. But the other problem with cold temperatures is that I have to keep changing out the water. So that's half frozen. It's actually not too bad. But I have a thing of fresh water here that we're just going to replace it. In the main coops, I do have water heaters, so that helps. For this one, I'm just changing it out, taking it in at night, putting it out first thing in the morning at first light. She usually gets up. If she's getting up, she usually is up at like pretty early in the morning, usually with the first light. And then before my husband leaves for work, which is a few hours later, late morning, I have him change it out again so she has another few hours of access to the water. Although she really only gets up about once a day when she's broody like this. So as long as we catch it in the morning and she has water when she's up, I think we're good. Okay, so these are my young silkies and my big roo. And I'm going to have to see, one, how their water level's doing. So I have their water sitting on a water heater. And I have enough for now. I'll change it out later. We're also going to see if we have another broody, because I think we might have a second broody in here. And yes, my quiet girl. What are we going to do with you? I might have to clear out and clean up the second nursery coop for you if you want to go broody on me. If she's going to be sitting in the cold anyway, might as well have you do a job, huh? Okay, so we might have two broody girls. Just gotta figure out which eggs to give her. So I realize I don't have any duct tape, the thing that fixes everything. So I have some painting tape. I don't know how well this will work because it's kind of made to be able to pull off easily at the end of a job. But what I'm gonna do is try to tape that tarp onto the top of the coop, just to basically to my flip door up at the top. The idea being that the tarp, since it's a darker color, might absorb more of the sunlight and help keep my broody girl warm. So we'll try it out. If this doesn't work, I'll just have to pick up some duct tape. Okay, so I don't know how well it'll work, but we'll see if it holds. We're on, let's see, day 3 of 21, so 18 days left. We might have to retape it at some point, but we'll see how long it holds. Okay, so I have another Broody girl in here, and I didn't really want to fix up the other mobile coop because it actually is more open to the elements than the first one I made. Pretty much made them for summer. So, what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to put together basically a little fenced off blockade for the third of the coop on that side where she has her nest. And I've made a blockade before, so I have used this method before. As long as the other chickens don't squeeze past it, we're good. I think they're too big to do that now. And it pretty much makes a fence wall along the section here so that we can keep her separate from the rest of the flock, and she can have a little privacy over there. So I'm just going to put that blockade in place, so I have to move some of the bedding around and put it in place, and then just secure it with a couple screws, and that should do it. Then I'll have to set up her food and water in that end so she has access to her own food and water, and then just let her raise them in this coop. A little concerned that this other 2/3 is a little tight for my the rest of my flock here. Most of them are young. There's one big rooster. Actually, they're getting to be, oh gosh, 18, 19 weeks old, so they may actually start laying eggs soon. But there's only 2 pullets in this group. The rest are cockerels, so we're gonna have to do something about that in the next couple months. So far, we haven't had any issues. They still cuddle with each other at night, and during the day, they might chase each other around a little bit, but no major cockfights, so that's good. Just slides into place. It's made to fit the depth of the coop and almost the height of the coop. Not quite as tall as the coop, but it only has a couple inches up there, so nobody's squeezing through there. Are you talking? Okay. So what I'll do is I'll just put some fresh bedding over here. Build it up a little bit so it helps to hold this well in place. I'll adjust the bedding. I just shift it around on the other side. I might pull some out into the run area. She's clucking. Okay. So just gotta screw this into place, and I have done that before. So let's see where there's just one hole right here. So I just need the screws and the screwdriver. That just holds it in place vertically, so I'll show you the wall here in a second. I'm going to get something to place her food and water on right here. She has her barrier, and she has her nest box on the other side, so she actually does have to get up and go around the barrier to get her food and water. And that way, she has to get out of her nest box to take care of herself, because we don't want her making a mess on the eggs. So I do have a new nest box. with some fresh straw in it. This is actually the first time I'm trying straw instead of pine shavings for my nest box for these girls, because every previous time I used pine shavings, which worked alright with my silky girls, but when my larger ones had a clutch that was just hatching, I found that occasionally the larger birds would squish one of my babies, and someone gave me the advice of trying to switch to straw instead of pine shavings because they're more likely to be able to move around out from under the mama if she happens to step on them. So we're going to give it a try and see how it goes. I do have 7 eggs that were laid today by my larger flock. This is a small silky girl, so I might not give her all 7. I'm going to see how she does. She's raised 6 or hatched 6 before, so we might do that. 6 or 7. We'll see how she covers them. One of the most laid back hens I've ever had. You got your eggs. I did give her all 7 and she seems to be covering them, so we'll see how she does with that. Be nice to have, well, 3 or 4 hens that'll start laying eggs in August to September, because they'll hatch later this month. Are you excited about that now? I'm gonna dump the other. I think I'm gonna use this. I'm gonna use this for my tray for the food, I believe. So I gotta level things out in here. That should be good. I'll put some fresh that straw. I don't want to scare you, girl. I know. I woke her up. That's alright. She'll go back on her eggs once we settle down in here. I know. Okay, girl. Okay. Yep, I got food for you here in a second. Some fresh bedding. Now, all she really needs is a little bit of food at this point because there's only one of her right now. So I just used a cap to a nut container, and we're going to put that in here. And then I'm going to go get a container for water here in a second. And she's going to go nuts here. This is my clue that she's broody. She's eating like she's starved, and she'll do this like once or twice a day and then get back on the nest. So she's going nuts. She usually just takes a couple bites and then hangs out, not so frantic. So she's definitely a broody girl. She'll eat and drink frantically for a little bit. And once she's had her fill, takes care of herself, she should get back on that nest box. In the few minutes that she spends off the nest taking care of herself, eggs tend to be fine. They cool off a little bit, but they'll heat right back up when she gets on her. What I need to do next is I pushed all that bedding over there, so I'm going to have to spread it out, maybe pull a little bit out. So she's my second broody girl. And I think she'll be able to cover all 7 eggs. So, I'll check on her tomorrow, make sure nothing's poking out to the side. If there's one poking out to the side, I will pull it out of the container, out of her nest box, and so she can have 6 of them. So I don't want her rotating them so that one's always sticking out, because then they'll all be slow in development. So they'll all have some time being too cool. Okay, so I'm going to let her be. I'll check on her in a little bit. Big frozen chunk there. Get that piece out. How you doing, girl? You checking on her? Maybe we should check on her. Day 3. Still sitting in her corner. And we'll see how my kind of tape job does. I have a feeling I'm going to have to replace that in the next day or so. I have to go and get some duct tape or something. Miss Blue is quite curious about that. She's the friendliest chicken I have other than my little silkie hen. The rest of them are very skittish. Okay, so that should do it for now. I now have 2 silky broody girls sitting on eggs. We'll see how it goes. You're just realizing you changed your nest box?